Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour on My Media Prime. This evening, we are going to be looking at the conference that is holding in Yaounde by women with the objective of pushing for peace to return in Cameroon, all 10 regions. So in Yaounde, as we speak, women from all 10 regions are there. They have started discussing what they can do to also push the peace process in Cameroon forward. We also are going to be looking at agriculture, asking the question whether it is a more realistic venture for youth and the economy of Cameroon. We are discussing this with our panelists who are seated in the house already. Dr. Ngwanyam is in the house because he runs a university, an agricultural university. That's why he's here with us. Good evening and welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. We have very exciting topics today, and I will be very happy to talk about agriculture and make sure that I bring the necessary information and wisdom to all our youths.
Okay. We're also in the company of Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. He is our consultant. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians. Good evening, my co-panelist, Dr. Nick. Welcome to today's program. God bless you all.
We are also expecting to our studios in the minutes ahead Dr. Tata, who is the CEO of Afro Brains, who is in the country. We hope that he joins us very shortly to participate in our discussions this evening. I'll start with you, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. Are you closely following up what is happening in Yaounde? Is Madame there?
No, I'm not closely following up. Actually, I just it's on social media today that I learned about it, that something was happening in Yaounde like that. And I think it's a great move because, you know, the country has been going through a lot of problems and women have been in the background. And each time women come to the forefront, you know that serious things are going to happen. And what they are doing now is a foretaste of what we all expect. I understand some people were referring to saying it's another major national dialogue. No, it will be better than the major national dialogue. And of course, we know that there's a dialogue, a proper dialogue that is going to come with reconciliation and unity in the nation. So when they go and they start talking here, coming from all regions, I'm sure they will share the kind of information that would begin to bring down the tempers so that when the real dialogue comes, it will be easier.
Okay. Apostle Ambe, you are reading on what is happening now?
For the very first time, Mr. Leo, we now feel like every Cameroonian is part of this country. For the very first time, all the 10 regions have proven that what eats one affects the other. For the very first time in this country, it looks like we are no longer Anglophones and Francophones, but we are Cameroonians. And for the very first time, we feel a touch from the other end. For all the 10 regions, women to have gathered from all the 10 regions of the country speaks good faith. And to me, to the best of my understanding, this is something they were supposed to have done since 2016 when the crisis started. We've seen many situations where women have taken the lead and very complicated crises have come to an end. My joy is that for the very first time in Cameroon, we are acknowledging the fact that Adamawa is not a region in another country. Center is not a region in another country. Littoral is not a region in another country. West is not a region in another country. East is not a region in another country. South is not a region in another country. Because for all these women to have come from the 10 different regions of the country to start pressing for peace is a very good sign. Our worry has been that it looks like when it comes to Cameroon, whatever is eating the Englishman doesn't concern the French. And for the very first time, we feel like, okay, some people also are getting interested and carrying the burdens of the people they never saw as family. So I think it's a great stride and a very great initiative. We appreciate the effort. Let it not be another drama, but we are just trusting God that something good will come out of it.
Okay. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, we are discussing about women who are in Yaounde chatting the way for peace to return in Cameroon. We know that Cameroon has troubles in the north and in the northwest and southwest regions, and some social tensions in other parts of the country. Some people are asking the question why this conference has not been taken to the north, where people, mothers, especially mothers, are not sleeping so well, or in the northwest and southwest, Boya or Menda.
I think the most important thing to go away with is that the conference has started, and in spite of the fact that there's still COVID-19, they could brave it and have that conference. I think that's a good thing. It's a good sign, and you know, they've brought everybody to the capital, and then they've shared this information, and after that all these people are going back to their various regions, and hopefully they will carry the same message to the regions and begin to preach whatever they learned there and down to their divisions and so on. And I don't think it's not the first meeting, and it's not the last meeting. This is just the first of a series of meetings, I would imagine, and therefore they have to start from here and have some kind of a development and a growth plan, and at that time, of course, the regions can benefit from such meetings. And besides, this hall is big enough to hold women from 10 regions, and you know, in this time of COVID-19, you couldn't send this kind of a crowd to Bamenda or anywhere else.
Okay. We have been joined by Dr. Tata Emmanuel Fon, the CEO of AfroBrains, who has been participating all this while from China. He's here live. We're glad to have you, Dr. Tata Emmanuel Fon, but we'll start by asking you your first reaction to the meeting of women out there in Yaounde.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Of course, when we have the mothers of Cameroon that actually organize themselves to symbolize the cry for peace in our country, it is something that everybody's attention is supposed to be tilted towards. So it's positive, I should say, from the start. When I learned about the fact that the women across the nation are going to any particular location to say something about peace in this country, the first reaction I have is that, oh, this is something really positive. But of course, just like any other initiative that we have in this country, the most important thing is the follow through. What next? How can we be able to push this forward? The initiative might have been ushered through by the women. How can the men too be able to add their energy onto this positive spirit so that we actually achieve the results? Because the most important thing is the results that we achieve from there. So to me, it's all positive.
It's all positive. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, I don't know. No, okay, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. What should follow this meeting in Yaounde to ensure that whatever is decided there has impact on the lives of Cameroonians? We're talking about peace.
Yes, the first thing they have to do is, I'm sure, bringing the 10 regions together already forms a team. Now with this team, there's a particular information they are passing across which the different 10 regions are supposed to receive. I'm not sure all the entire women from the different 10 regions are down. They just have the representatives. The representatives have to go back with the information from there and organize the same conference in their own regions, in their own capacity. And then now there's supposed to be a national convergence of all these women, because I'm sure the number of persons that are in that hall there are not the number of persons from the north, the east, the west, the southwest, and the littoral. The representatives that have gone down there should come back. We want to hear Douala conference, organize a Beloa conference, Betua conference, Adamawa conference, Marua conference, Garua conference, Buya conference, Bamenda conference by women, preaching the same message, communicating the same information. Now, when they have communicated, because there is something we call a process that leads to progress. They're going to go a process that leads to progress. When they are done with this sensitization in all the 10 different regions of the country, now it is the government's responsibility to see into what the women are taking as a step, and then try to see how to help them achieve the dream. And then the next thing they have to do is, sometimes they used to say, when communications is not heard, violence is needed. Not violence in the sense of carrying guns and carrying arms. No. These women also, like we said yesterday, can gather in the national capital in Yaounde in their thousands and press for what they are discussing there today. Because I was told the Minister of Women Empowerment was part of the women that
All the big women in Yaounde were there.
Part of the team that went there to organize the conference. So I'm sure they have to take this information back to different regions, and let these conferences be organized in different regions, and let the information gathered there in Yaounde be passed across. From there now, when they are through with all this sensitization in 10 regions, they have to now do a national convergence that all the 10 regions can choose. So we are coming to Littoral. So gather in Littoral and make the government hear our voice, because those few persons who have gathered there cannot be compared to the crowd that have gathered in other places in this country, and the government gave a damn to it. I am sure this time around we are going to be dealing with numbers, because sometimes what we have done so far, the number has not been strong enough to influence the government to take good decisions to end the crisis. But I'm sure if the women come in their numbers and press charges, I'm sure the government will react. So I think the most important thing now is to spread the information and organize that same conference in all the 10 regions of the country, and then make sure they bring the information to the grassroots, because there are individuals who don't have social media, there are others who are not connected to television because of the war in their regions, and they are not aware of what is going on. And the regions mostly touched is the north and the southwest. Most of them are disconnected from cable lines, from internet, from communication. They are not even aware of what is happening. It will need now a grassroots communication. People can go to the field and then do one-on-one talks in communities, in districts, in localities, and then be able to do a sensitization, so that if women are gathering in Bamenda, they should gather at least 5,000. If they are gathering in Boya, they should gather at least 10,000. When that number comes out like that, it will make the government understand that this thing is serious, because the handful of these persons in this hall, this government I know will not pay any attention to them.
Yeah, the government is represented by the minister. I don't know what attention we need the government is to give there, because the mere presence of a minister shows that the government is aware. But can these women actually affect any change on both sides? Can they force government to stop the war? Can they force the separatists to stop the war?
No, the war is going to stop, but not by these women, and they will not trigger the stop either.
Okay.
Because there is a process in place to already stop the war. There's something in place to already stop the war, and therefore their contribution is just going in the right direction, and the war is going to stop not because they did this, but just because they joined a train in motion. Like I have said before, there's going to be a true and inclusive dialogue, and it is that true and inclusive dialogue that will be directed and conducted by experts who know the procedure of having such dialogues. Like we said before, if the major national dialogue failed to achieve the peace that was expected, it was because it was conducted by politicians who have no clue how to resolve conflicts. So the next dialogue would be conducted by professionals who know what to do, and the truth will be on the table. Will be a round table conference, and all the stakeholders will be there, either in the country or out of the country. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is that we are getting peace either by hook or by crook. Thereafter there will be reconciliation and unity. So that's a good move. Might be some of the women who are there will be part of it.
Okay, Dr. Tata, do you think that these women can force any change to what is happening on ground today?
Yes, my brother. You see, the first thing which we must actually pay attention to is the fact that we are where we are because of lack of solidarity from the other regions. At the time, if we reflect back when this whole crisis started, if there was sufficient solidarity from the other regions, I want to believe very strongly that we wouldn't be where we are today. So every problem has a certain dose, just like every disease or every infection has a certain dose of prescription that follows it. It's proportionate to the intensity of the affection or the infection. So we've already come to a point where that solidarity is not as though we're going to discard it. It's a good thing, but we don't expect it to be that which will handle the situation as it is, because we've allowed it to go to a point where probably it may not be the best prescription. However, it could be that stimulation that is required to call the attention of the powers that be. So whenever the women cry, whenever the voice, are we assuming that this is the voice of all the women in Cameroon? That's the assumption we're making here. If that is the case, then it is that which should be listened to, because the women, I want to believe, form the majority in this country, and if they do, then if they can mobilize themselves, if they can be represented, not just in a small room as we can see, but if they can be mobilized, as Apostle indicated earlier, if we can see that mobilization from the women, if they can even be allowed. Remember that most often than not, when any section of the population chooses to express their grievances, their worry, or they are disturbed about something, there's always this tendency of probably the administration misunderstanding or being miscommunicated about what is supposed to happen. So we are assuming that if the women this time around are allowed to express themselves, if they can be allowed to express themselves nationwide, then it's going to call attention, and that attention we can be able to put some positive action into it, and there's a probability that it could give us a pathway to resolving the crisis or the multiple crises that we're facing.
Okay, we are going to move straight to a second topic for tonight, which is the core topic, which has to do with agriculture. I'll start with you, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. You are also very much involved in agricultural activities. You run a university that trains students in agriculture. And my question to you is, why do we still have a feeling like agriculture is still not the core in Cameroon, the core activity that ought to be given priority?
Thank you very much. We need to deal squarely with this and then get the answers straight, because our salvation lies in agriculture, but we are not aware of it. Don't forget that in the days of President Ahijo, there was the Green Revolution, and you had Mideviv and all these things, and agriculture was picking up. But somewhere along the line, we all forgot about it. We are wearing suits and ties, and then ran after civil service and importation, and then we let the agriculture decay. That said, when you see a great nation like America, the backbone of America is agriculture. And you know, they develop it to the extent that it's so good that technology takes over agricultural production, so you have very few people engaged in it. But America, with all her wealth and technology, if people don't have food to eat, they will collapse. So agriculture is the in thing, and it's not. If I have started the School of Agriculture, it's not just because I slept and dreamt about it. No, even from my early days in secondary school, I first went to JMB Sindhu, then I progressed to CP. I went later on to CPC Bali. We started agriculture in Form 1, and I had one of the best bets where I was growing tomatoes, lettuce, and selling them to the Canadian missionaries that were with us. And my understanding of agriculture, when I'm thinking of agriculture, I'm seeing these hectares of corn, hectares of soya beans, hectare of this, and then cows and goats and so on over here. That was my understanding of agriculture. But the kind of agriculture that we have in Cameroon is a corrupt kind of agriculture. It gives people the wrong mental picture, and that's why people are not buying into it. We see agriculture as something of the poor man, something of the villager, something that has no future, something at which you've got to break your back to make a living. And to make matters worse, adding insult to injury, agriculture in reality means animal two things: animals over here and plants over here, and that Ngwanyam, who is in agriculture, is doing plants and animals together and creates an ecosystem where all these things are functioning. Because, as you know, animals have got more money than plants, and you're going to use the plants and things from the plant kingdom to feed the animals, and something from the animals to feed the plants. So you create an ecosystem, and then the farmer has got to have a stable income flow throughout the year. So we first started off, I guess it was a political thing where we wanted to create enough ministerial posts for people. So we took the Ministry of Agriculture, broke it up, and said, you look after animals and the other person looks after plants. And that's what happened in our universities, and that's what happened everywhere. But the real man in the village has his goats and his corn and so on, and that's what we were supposed to encourage, so that these things should happen. And besides, anyway, we use a lot of effort in our agriculture. It's physical muscles. No, agriculture you can do agriculture without using these physical muscles or something. You use but your head, and you use machines, and that's where we are failing. And we also lack we have a lot of post-harvest losses. We lack technology of transformation. We don't know how to package all of this, and we don't know how to market things. So we have a bunch of things that is making the agriculture look like it's not the best place to be. But just to give you a good example, we import, I think, rice for about 300 billion into this nation every year. I don't know if I might be wrong, I might be right, but it's about that. But let's take a scenario where we create a school where we take our youths, put them there just to learn how to produce rice using all the technologies and the machines. We bring people from China, India to teach them, and all these children were to grow all the rice that we need. We are saying that those children would earn 300 billion francs every year. That is the point.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu and your panelists. Please, Mr. Liu, if the conference is separated from the government influence, then it may be a success. But if the crowd, the government officials, then we have something else to think about. Paul is writing from Moyuka. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, and Ngwa. Agriculture, Cameroon is green from almost all the angles, but we seemingly are not making the best out of our agriculture. What's not moving? Is it the lack of government policy, or the fact that we are lazy, we hate farm?
One of the greatest mistakes to make is to attack the enemy from the point of your weakness.
Okay.
I think the agricultural sector in Cameroon has been politicized. We don't have a challenge with climatic condition. We don't have a challenge with the soil. We don't have a challenge with seedlings. We don't have the challenge with the human resource. We don't even have the challenge with the mental resource. We lack very, very serious government policies that influences that sector called agriculture. Every industrial revolution was born from an agrarian revolution, starting from China, getting to France, to Britain, to Russia, to America. You cannot develop in technology if you do not even have the raw materials to process. And anybody who has ever grown in technology must have produced something that pushed him to think on how to process that thing. Cameroon should not be putting the cart before the horse. There is no need thinking about technology or don't we have the materials to process. Look at the days of Aijo in this country. We have a story of Aijo going to visit Mao Zedong in China in those days and ask him, how do you manage to feed almost about 700 million people when I'm unable to feed a Cameroon population of at least 15 million persons? Aijo was given a reception in China, and he was taken to an area in the night where Chinese grew rice. He saw the number of hectares of rice cultivated in China. China does not have the opportunity or the climatic condition or the soil to grow the diversity of crops we grow here. But the single energy they have in a particular domain, they exploited it in such a way that it helped the entire economy. When Aijo came up with that philosophy, he came back with the Green Revolution. If you go to places like Norwest and South, we had like Moyoka Cooperative Credit Union, where farmers were the determinant factor of the price of cocoa and coffee. But I'm telling you that after that incident, Aijo's departure, it looks like a particular kind of wind blew in the atmosphere, and I'll put it the enemy. The enemy knew that if Cameroon is taken out of its strength, Cameroon will collapse. The deception that we have manganese, petrol, diamond, and gold as minerals in this country cannot be compared to what we have under agriculture. It is a huge disgrace that Cameroon imports pork worth 42 billion francs per annum and imports onion almost about 40 billion per annum in this country, when we have the 10 regions of this country have the capacity to grow every crop that grows in the world. There are crops that grow, root crops like onion and garlic, that survive under the climatic condition of the north and the far north. We have the rainforest. Cameroon is a miniature of Africa, which means anything can grow in this country. You go to the south, the alluvial fans that flow from Mount Cameroon give that environment another picture on its own. You go to the east, you go to the south, you have the forest, we have the rain, the equatorial climate that gives us the opportunity to grow anything we want to grow here. When did we start thinking that petrol, When did we start thinking that civil service? When did we start thinking that export and import is the strength of Cameroon? It was because our mentality and our focus was drifted off our strength. We start looking as if traveling abroad is where the breakthrough is tied. And when we go abroad, we don't go to learn technology and bring. We go and carry old mattresses, xylophones, old cars, old radios, and we bring here as if this is a dumping ground for the West in Europe. Failing to understand that every country operates in its strength. Cameroon's strength, I repeat, if we don't go back to the basis of agriculture in this country, we are going to be dancing and playing by. The truth is, what deception, or the deception that has crept into the minds of most Cameroonians, who do not even believe in what we count on. Nigeria was also dragged into the mess of thinking that since they are the giant of petrol, they don't have any value. Until lately, Dangote has opened a 17,000 hectares of tomato cultivation in the north, not just to produce tomato, but also to have a factory that processes the tomatoes, so much so that Nigeria will not need to import tomato paste anymore from China or the other country. There are so many treasures in countries, but the whites have given us the impression that life settles around petrol. When did we start thinking that petrol is the source of Cameroon's strength? When did we start thinking that bauxite, that iron ore, that diamond and gold that is taken from the Jar Elobo division, from the Lump Engineering division, is what is going to give us the world in this country? Let us go back to the drawing board and correct this error of thinking that our strength may lie in any other material or mineral. We have a climatic condition, we have a soil that if we depend totally on agriculture alone, Cameroon will never beg or need any other support from anywhere. For us to be borrowing money is strange. For us to be importing food in this country is strange. Until plastic rice is brought from China and sold to us here, how manage? There was a factory producing rice in Loom, it disappeared into thin air. We have Ndop Plains that has the opportunity to give us thousands of tons of rice every year, and the Ndop rice has been tested as the most nutritive rice, yet we are eating plastic in Cameroon. Something is wrong upstairs, not with the soil.
Yes, something is wrong upstairs. Dr. Tata, you are so very much involved in agriculture. What motivated your interest and the creation of AfroBrains, and what has been the mission of AfroBrains to change the tide?
Yes, thank you very much. You see, you must have listened to my other elderly persons speak here with so much passion. Why? Because it is a very difficult puzzle to break, to understand and actually comprehend where the problem or where the challenge is centered. So with all this vast availability of possibilities to provide the youths of Cameroon with solutions, opportunities that they so seek. If you look in our cities today, you shed tears. You wouldn't understand how is it possible that we could have this population of youths hanging around almost doing nothing, and yet we have this fertile soils that are available that we could convert and create value and feed everybody. So it is out of this passion for homeland, this willingness to create opportunities for my fellow brothers, that I decided to say, well, but agriculture is the easiest way to create wealth. You see, while we watch movies on Hollywood and stuff, they are buying our lands. The richest people on this planet are actually people buying lands. The Chinese are buying our lands. The so-called the Bill Gates and all, they are buying lands. Go research, you would realize they are all buying lands. Why are they buying lands? It means they know that the future of the world, the wealth that is going to be appreciated in a couple of years to come, will come from the lands. And that is the reason why I want to begin to, through the AfroBrains vision, I want to begin to create that environment for our youths to begin to see value in our lands. You see, when you go through some of the UN, I must say, I'm very sorry to say this. If you go through some of the UN publications, journals, and all these stuff, you see the photos and advertisements that they use to to depict agriculture in Africa, you would cry. They look at it, they show you some pictures of some old ladies, they show you some pictures of some people who can't even dig the soil, who can't even do anything. What are they doing? They are building in the minds of our youths. They are making agriculture to be unpopular. They are discouraging our young people from getting involved in agriculture, because that is where the wealth is. Just like Apostle said, there is a distraction. It could be deliberate. It could not be. We're just saying that it is our responsibility to begin to tell our youths that the wealth of this world lies in our farms. So AfroBrains is bringing out this value which we have been staying away from. What we do is, first of all, we make the youths understand that if you want to print money, you just have to plant. What does that mean? If you plant a grain, it comes out several grains. If you plant 2 grains, it comes out much more grains. So that is just an indirect way to print money. So instead of you struggling to manipulate yourself, just go to the farm, plant, cultivate. These days, as we do at AfroBrains, we build machines that can help youths to cultivate, not the way our parents used to do the crop cultivation, but using machines. This is making it possible for everybody to engage in agriculture, food cultivation, not just limited to the cultivation of crops, but of course the rearing of animals. There are lots of technologies that are out there, and those are some of the things that AfroBrains actually saw the gap, because you see, industrial revolution missed Africa, and that is where we really have a problem, and that is where AfroBrains strength actually lies, in the development of a system where we can be able to make absolute use of the technologies that are already available in our own context. There are lots and lots of machines that are out there in agriculture, but are these machines designed to fit the context of our own agricultural environment? So at AfroBrains, we work with the local farmers, the local women, the youths, to see that we find out those technologies that can be able to enhance cultivation. If we want to cultivate yams, for example, how can we make sure that instead of cultivating just 1 hectare, we can cultivate 100 hectares of land, so that we can transform? Remember that any investment, as we are doing at AfroBrains, that is going to help in the transformation of our organic products, without a corresponding investment in cultivation, will end up not being useful. You realize that we've had a lot of factories that have been set up in Cameroon, but it takes a couple of years, and very soon you don't see them. Why is that happening? The reason why that is happening is because we invest in transformation, but we don't invest in cultivation. Sometimes we invest in cultivation, we don't invest in transformation. What we have to do is, proportionate investment in transformation should follow investment in cultivation, and that is exactly what AfroBrains is doing.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Nick, why don't we have enough investment in the training of experts in this domain? Is that why you are also opening up a School of Agriculture, or there is a specific mission you seek to meet?
Yes, there's a couple of things that we need to correct, and sometimes, like, we come and sit on television and even on social media, we've discussed this quite a lot. You see, we criticize, we talk, and so on. Criticizing and talking is cheap talk. Doing, it's the thing. So I could talk about, oh, the country needs to do this, we need to do this to create jobs. I could talk about that from morning to evening. It's changing nothing. The most effective way of talking and punching people in their faces, when you talk, you do. You show the example, and that's the thing. And it might interest you to know that, okay, I'm a medical doctor, I'm a surgeon, but when I went to secondary school, I wanted to be one of 3 things. I wanted to be either a medical doctor, an agric officer, and agric officer is not this kind of thing I see in Cameroon, running to sit in an office. Agric officer to me was that kind of mental picture of farmers in America. That's what was in my mind, or South Africa. I wanted to be a pilot just for the fun of flying out there. So it happens that I became a medical doctor, and in the latter part of my years, I realized that I have to continue to push this dream of agriculture and inculcate it into the youth, and try to understand where the problem is and see what I can do to correct it, so that this thing that has been left fallow can be picked, polished up, and then made to grow. Because if we do the agriculture well, and we teach the children how to produce plants and animals, which is the cultivation Dr. Tata was talking about, then we teach them the transformation, we teach them the entrepreneurial part of everything, and then we can export. We will make a lot of money in this nation. You know, like we keep saying, oh, how do you create jobs for youth? How do you create jobs for youth? I'm telling you, if we take the agriculture seriously, we can create, Dr. Tata, if I'm wrong, correct me, I'm sure Apostle Ambe will support me in this, we can strategically provide 2 million jobs for youth in this nation every year if we want to. It's possible, very possible. You know, I've had the opportunity of going to China about twice or so, and I have been to Europe several times, America, and so I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about. And Dr. Tata would also agree with us here that in China, you have so many, you have so many machines out there. When you go to America, the difficulty with America is that they have been doing things for long, and they have giant machines and giant processes and so on. But the beauty of China is that they have made small machines that do the same things that big machines can do, which means that we can start, buying small machines to help us do things. Just like he was saying, you need small machines to cultivate. You don't need to be breaking your back again and things. Small machines to thresh your corn, all those kind of things. We just need to start from somewhere and grow. And it's such a difficult thing that it is only some of us who have to come down our high horses and pick this thing and dust it and begin to tell people this is the way we should go. And it's my prayer that at the end of the day we will succeed, teaching children how to grow plants and how to grow animals, giving them the technology, and taking the stress out of it. It's just because I don't have money now, but you would ask me what is in my mind. I was hoping that by now I would have had enough money to buy the tractors, buy the caterpillars and everything, and encourage the girls. I would have had the girls running around driving all these caterpillars and tilling the earth and so on with their polished nails and so on. At the end of the day, it is fun. You will see the very beautiful girls running on the machines and growing the food without taking anything out of their beauty or out of their ego. They will be so proud of it. So those of us, the adults, let us take the pride back into the agriculture, and then check out that back-breaking element of agriculture, and then show them how to overcome the difficulties and make money. And you will see the crime wave is going to come down. The children are going to be happy. If you are having all these problems in the northwest and southwest, it's a problem of economics. Like we've said before, for a nation to function well, the politics has to be right, the economics has to be right, the development has to be right, and the education is what drives it. So we have to go and look at all these elements as concerned agriculture and get it right. When we get it right, I bet you this country can be the richest, because God has already blessed us with the rain, blessed us with the fertile lands, blessed us with the youth and so on. But unfortunately, something is wrong with our gray matter.
Something is wrong with our gray matter. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. How do we encourage young people to get into agriculture? How do we tell people that agriculture is the future of Cameroon's economy and their hope, the hope of the youth? When we see agro giants like CDC limping for decades today, we know clear support. We see Pamo limping. We have seen the disappearance of the likes of WADA. We see the UNVTA in DOP limping, and at almost all levels we see most agro-industries limping.
Mr. Lou, it is your sense of value that determines the flow of virtue.
Okay.
I think we have a serious problem with the education in our country.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in this country. I was never taught about any fertile place in this country. I was taught about shifting cultivation in the Ganges Valley of India. Not shifting cultivation in Ekuna, not in Moyuka, not in Kumba. So I don't even know if
we studied about the prairies.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
We're talking about the pampas of Argentina. We're talking about the Canadian prairies.
Okay.
We're talking about forestry in Sweden, fishing in Japan. I don't even know if the coast of the Buncha produces fish. Cattle ranching in the Maasai region of Kenya. I don't even know if cattle ranching works around Womb. I don't even know if shifting cultivation operates very well in Ekuna or Moyoka. I don't even know if forestry works well around Betua, Belabo, Ebolovo. I don't know. I don't know if at all something works around here. How do you explain that I'm a Cameroonian? I'm taught about shifting cultivation working in the Ganges Valley of India. It means my mentality has been programmed in such a way that if I'm thinking of shifting cultivation, I should not think around my environment. So what was given to us took our minds. I said the telephone is the only tool that takes you away from those who are close to you and bring you closer to those who are far from you. I can sit with you on my mobile phone. I'm connected to somebody in America. We are talking while I'm not even aware you are here. The education that we have in this country took us away from our own reality. If our youths are not interested in agriculture because they know that shifting cultivation works in the Ganges Valley of India, not in Ekuna. They know that cattle ranching works in the Maasai region in Kenya, not in Womb, not in Ambe. They know that fishing works in Japan, doesn't work in the coast of the Buncha. They know very well that we have how do I put it, the pampas of Argentina, the prairies of Canada. And then forestry doesn't work here, it works but in Sweden. What forest does Sweden have compared to what we have here? What climatic condition does India have as compared to this place to do bush following, shifting cultivation, subsistence farming? What do they have? So the reality of our very environment we are not aware of. So we have to go back and start from kindergarten and start telling our youths that
we are taught how to be historians, sociologists, anthropologists. We have to be the best lawyers.
Is it not a shameful thing that a Cameroonian can only discover agriculture in the university? O levels 10 papers, agriculture is not part of it. A levels 5, and then they go and say you ought to go and do agronomy at the university level. When it is something children are given from kindergarten from China on how to mix chemicals, on how to make the soil fertile. A child around O level is taught on how to make machine that will be able to extract corn from its comb. We have a serious problem. I'm sure God will help us, Mr. Liu. Because the generation we belong to, it has taken personal research for a person like Dr. Tata to fall in love with agriculture. Because if he was to follow his educational trend where he grew in this country, he would never admire it. There was nothing done that gave us the avis, the desire, the interest to yearn after agriculture.
Due custom.
How do you explain that rice cultivation in China when up here can produce effective rice? So I know in my mind that rice grows in China.
No, if you take a vehicle going down to
apple cultivation in Greece,
from Bamenda to along the road you see the rice farms. They're there.
Apple cultivation in Greece,
okay.
Viticulture in France, market gardening in Holland.
You.
So we know that market gardening that has to do with the production of tomatoes and other things grows in Holland. When in go to 2 years you can do market gardening. Tons and upon tons of tomatoes come from that place. They tell us of viticulture in Israel. When you can do viticulture here in my 14, that's the cultivation of flowers. They tell us horticulture in France. We have a mentality that viticulture, horticulture, market gardening, intensive farming, fishing is in Japan, forestry. so how do I start thinking that I can do market gardening in Cameroon? It's not there. So we have to get back to the place of putting these things, the reality of these things in our very environment. The forest that is in the south and the east is bigger than the forest in Sweden. Chinese people have left China. They are catching fishes in the coast that our fishermen were not catching. They have now brought hooks and nets that catches even fish that sometimes our fishermen will catch, look at the size and then throw it back because it's not yet matured. Makiro that used to come from here that had oil on it, they will now extract the oil and then sell all the chaff. So what is wrong with us? Our youth never grow with the mentality. One, when you are growing in those, there are 5 things you intend to do. Accountant. Even if you don't know how to count money, you want to be an accountant. If your salary is 5,000, you having the title, he is an accountant. Number 2, doctor. Even if you are earning 250 from Qs, you are a doctor. Lawyer. Even if you are a lawyer without any portfolio, you are a lawyer. That philosophy, we left school from professor, lawyer, doctor, accountant without any job is what you go. Almost every Cameroonian today is either a teacher, a doctor, an accountant, a professor, or a lawyer.
A nurse. Nursing.
Do your statistics from the north, right around Kolofata, right down to Lom and Jerem in the east. You will
How
find
do we shift this paradigm? How do we get many more young persons to get interested in what you're trying to do? What is the strategy?
Yes, Braulio, thank you very much. That's an excellent question. You see, we just like Apostle has rightly indicated, I was going to sprinkle some of those. So just like Apostle has indicated, you see, the youths are very anxious to, they are expecting us to give them some new hope, some new area where they can invest their energy. Now, if you ask how, what do they, just like Apostle said, what do they think agriculture is? They don't see themselves in the product that they even consume. Now, go to the market. You would notice that either we're having Chinese labeled products, or some products without labels, or some products that don't even have a reflection, or some products. You see, sometimes we even fight for certain things. We don't even know how those things came about. You see, in Africa, people be fighting our oil. Ask them, how do you convert this from this to this? Do they know the process? If you are allowed, convert it yourself. Okay, yes, you are allowed with the minerals. Can you get the minerals yourself and convert it to the form that is usable and marketable? You see, those knowledge, those critical knowledge, those critical skills, most of our young people don't have it. You see, Afrobrains, what we do is that we try as much as possible to encourage our youths to understand the relationship between what they do at the farms and the products that they consume at the end of the day. We have lots and lots of groups that are involved in food cultivation. We work with women, we work with young people in both food cultivation and animal cultivation. When these things are cultivated, they see themselves getting involved. When you walk into a supermarket and you see that, oh, this product is coming from my farm, when the farmer can see his or herself in the product at the supermarket, that creates a bond, that creates some kind of a natural concern for whatever happens. So look, to be honest, food in every country is not just about eating and filling the stomach. It's an issue of national security. And I always keep on saying this, that Cameroonians should begin to realize that when we talk about eating healthy, when we talk about eating, it's not just about filling the blanks. The world is becoming very, very sensitive when it comes to eating. Food is something we eat every day. We are already, you know, at Afrobrains we talk about organic foods. We're not just talking about food, we're talking about organic food. What is the danger? Why do we focus on organic food? Now, we have been slaves for a long time. The next form of slavery that's going to come is probably going to be the agricultural slavery. How is this going to happen? They're going to populate our environment with GM seeds. What is the disadvantage with GM seeds? The disadvantage, which is the major disadvantage, is that
the F1 seeds, most of those seeds, when our farmers buy it, they're going to see F1. F1 means first filial generation. When they see that F1, it means that those seeds, when you take those seeds and you cultivate them, you have the products. You take the products that have been produced, you plant them, they will not produce. So it means that you have to go back to the person who sold the initial seeds to you to buy again. That is a form of slavery. Once you allow the multinational companies to be able to sell seeds to you during every planting season, you are already a slave. We want to make sure that our farmers become educated and develop this organic environment so that we can have control of our seeds. So we at AfroBrains, we are not only involved in creating job opportunities in the food transformation and food distribution, but we also see the important need to groom some of to produce some of these seeds for our farmers. Not only organic seeds do we produce, but we also produce organic manure. And we don't only produce and distribute to the farmers, but we train them. And we also train the young people in machine building. So probably this is an opportunity where we can be able to say, okay, young people, why don't you get in touch with AfroBrains? Let us see how we can work together, because one of the greatest problems in Africa is that we don't have the habit of working together. We have been in the market for a while now, and the good news is that most of the young entrepreneurs that are involved in the food industry don't actually see us as competitors, but they have been able somehow to identify us as that institution with which we can work together to see that we create some form of food security in Cameroon. Because why are we doing all what we're doing? What we're doing is that we're trying as much as possible to create jobs for young Cameroonians. We're trying as much as possible to reduce the post-harvest loss, as Dr. Nick indicated much earlier, because post-harvest loss is a serious issue. Remember what happened a couple of years back, where our farmers, after producing tons and tons of tomatoes, and with the coming of the coronavirus, the borders were blocked. They could not move to other countries to market their tomatoes. These tomatoes were just around the whole place getting rotten. So with this kind of environment, if that should happen again, God forbid it, AfroBrains is available that they can be able to send all these tomatoes. We're not just going to discard these tomatoes, or we're not just going to we're going to add value into these tomatoes and create more wealth for these persons. So AfroBrains has this vision to bring together youths, not just in food cultivation, but also in transformation and distribution. So I'm calling on all the youths, do not think that agriculture is meant for old people. Do not think that agriculture is meant only for certain categories of persons, but agriculture is meant for all of us, because that is where the world's greatest wealth is hidden.
Okay, Dr. Nick, let me take a few messages before we can continue. Hi guys, the greatest medium of transformation is our educational institutions. They have the moral obligation to inspire and create an enabling environment for youths to get involved in agriculture at all levels, especially in product transformation. J.N. Agbo, writing from Kumba. Chenui, writing from Bamenda, says, good evening, Mr. Leo. Who of the things that is driving many youths from farm is marketing, and Cameroonians prefer to consume what comes from outside more than what we produce, and that downgrades and discourage many in the field. Okay. Please, I'm Simon Akama talking from Kumba. The reason why youths today don't like agriculture is because after cultivating a particular plant, spending time on the farm and money, after all, the buyer will come and price me less than what I have spent on the farm. So why will I pick up interest in farming? And please, they should also do us a favor by bringing up good machines, not machines plus, please, but good machines, and teach us how to operate the machines so that we also don't have to stress ourselves in farming. And above all, that we need a good route to a farm so that it will help to carry our crops. Okay. These are farmers reacting. Ngwane Thierry in Douala says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I also impressed with your work and choice of resource persons and the panel. They are so equipped with vital information necessary for building a positive mindset. Special greetings to Apostle. I like his points. They are inspirational. God bless your efforts. This one says, oops, in the name of God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, heaven. Okay? Amen. Dr. Nick,
Yes.
you're laughing. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just want to ask if Madam Kawala is there in that conference, because we need people that we see the mind. Boris is writing from Douala. Unfortunately, it appears that some of them are not there. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. The agricultural system in Cameroon has frustrated so many people. Imagine that a chemical of use in spraying cocoa is bought for 1,000, but a kilogram of cocoa is bought for 650 per kilo. This government is bad. And Paul, writing from Uyukam, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, many persons are also discouraged by their difficulty in finding a ready market. Is that not also a sector that needs to be developed, that at least assures people that whatever produce you are bringing, you will find a ready market?
That's right. I think it's a responsibility of government to make these things work. You see, they in 2013, His Excellency President Paul Biya made available 121 billion francs for youths. And I remember at the time speaking on CRTV, I had this program, 60 Minutes on Radio with Wine Pongam. And I had my ideas how the 121 billion francs could be used to empower the youths. And I still stick to that plan. Someday we're going to get 121 billion from somewhere else and get that plan working. And that plan is going to save the youth and the nation. What did I have in mind? We have about 350 council areas in the nation. And for those of you who are used to international trade and all the opportunities that are out there, there is this thing called the Exim Bank of America, Exim Bank of China, and then there are other organizations like OPIC and so on. And imagine we had 121 billion just sitting there, and we took that money and we went to the company that makes Caterpillar with all the machines, heavy equipment and so on, and say, look, let's get into a deal. We are going to give you 121 billion, but we'll take Caterpillars for 200 billion. I mean, not 200 billion. Let's say 2 million billion. That is 2,000 billion. Sorry, that's a lot. They'll be able to give you if you organize yourself well. We bring all these Caterpillars to Cameroon, and then we share them to the council area so that there are enough of these Caterpillars, heavy machinery in every council area. Then we have a training pool where we train youths from every subdivision to be able to operate those machines. Train girls to drive the D12s, the D8s, and whatever. To drive the excavators, to drive the graders, then to drive all that agricultural machinery. What will they be using these machines for first? In every council area, they will be able to take these machines and do their farm to market routes, so that they will not need to be bothering anybody. So the youth in every area will be catering for their youth. Then, I mean, for their farm to market routes. Then they would take these very machines and use them to open farms. You know, I saw a video that was shown to me by one of the farm managers of Colonel Oyenwo, and he showed me how they clear farms. In you know, they have very many these hectares and hectares of farmlands in that area that they grow sugarcane in. What's that area? In Banjok area. And what they will do is, imagine this is a D7 and this another D. Okay, I'm taking my brother's phone. This is a D7 and this another D7. So they would go into the savannah, put this D7 over here and this other one over here, and get a heavy chain, heavy metallic chain that weighs tons. I mean, weighs a lot. They'll hook it to this caterpillar and hook it to this one and just let it drive through the savannah. And then it clears all the grass and so on. So just in a few hours, you have hectares and hectares of land that have been cleared. Then they bring some other machines and till the soil and so on. And that's how you open the farms, and the children are running around doing these things, and they're not stressed. That's the kind of thing we need to do. So the children can learn to use the machines, number one, to open up their roads, number two, to do their farms, and it will just be a joy. Then the government organizes and puts in industries for transformation, packaging, then selling, and then we can feed Nigeria, we can feed ourselves, we can feed Gabon down here. If I had the opportunity here, I would go and close some of these universities we have, take some of those children, put them in there, go bring some experts from China, from Thailand, and they will sit there for 2 years, and they will be able to grow all the rice we need in this country. So, but the money, what happened to 121 billion? They took it and then went to making some footballs and jerseys, and the thing disappeared into thin air. So you see, we have bad faith in this country. But what I'm telling you is that after this next dialogue, reconciliation, and we are going to a new Cameroon is going to be something you've never seen before. It's going to be the best country in Africa. We are going to beat Rwanda, we'll beat Ghana, we'll beat Tanzania, and we'll be the best.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. KUM. I love your program. I am a young farmer and owns 12 hectares of palm plantation, but has a problem of machines to enhance the processing of oil. Please, I need help. Akum Cornelius from Koteng Opa Sanaga. Okay. Good evening to you. Those of you, I don't know, can you help him out, Dr. Tata? So just get to me after the program. I'll send you Dr. Tata's number because he's also involved in transformation. You buy and you transform and you train. Please say something about production cost. I'm a fish farmer. I succeed to have quality fish, but the price in cold stores is way cheaper, so people prefer it to locally grown fish. That is why we need
Value
to go.
addition.
Yes, we need to go mechanized.
Value addition. We need to add value to the fish you're producing in order to beat the fish that is coming from elsewhere, because they're using genetically modified feed in order to feed those fish.
Okay.
You see, if you look at fish just with your eyeballs, then you will not see the value in the fish you're eating. But fish is much more than just what you see. So the fish you're harvesting from your natural environment is actually much healthier. So first thing you have to do is understand that you have to add value to it. Get yourself with the institutions like Afrobrains. We can transform this fish and make it in such a way that there'll be a value addition. You will have more value for your fish than wanting to sell the raw materials. The Chinese have all sorts of chemicals that they can use, hormones and all that they can use to puff up fish from within a very short space of time, and they will flood our coastals with those fish. So we need, first of all, we need to educate our population as to quality of food, because we should stop eating, like I indicated, we should stop eating for the sake of filling in the blanks. We should start eating quality.
If I get what you are saying is that the fish that this person claims to be cheaper to be selling, okay, the one that is sold at a cheaper rate than what is produced, what they need is to educate the community on the value of the fish that they are selling fresh from the waters, so that people should be ready to pay for it. If you can sell the value, people will go for it.
Yeah, the first thing is that the person who is cultivating or fish, or who is fishing from our natural waters probably is not conscious of the fact that the fish that he or she is fishing is much healthier, is having a higher value, nutritional value.
That is education.
Exactly. Than the fish at the cold stores.
There's something. Let me just throw in. I know
exactly.
It's your TV time, but let me just chip in this. This is where economics comes in. Economy of scale. You see, if you're going to grow fish and to sell them and compete, you should be able to have the fish on an industrial scale. But if you're going to compute your time, the energy you put in, and the resources, and then you're growing just a few fish, it's not going to work out. So we have to look for ways and strategies of expanding what you are doing. Not just you, but we should have so many people in the nation growing fish, and then the story will change. Like when I said, what am I thinking? You know, For those of you who don't know, I'm talking to the general public now. It's very easy. There are some techniques that are used to multiply this catfish, or what we call mudfish. You do it. You don't wait for the male mudfish to meet with the female mudfish and give the babies. No, you go ahead and you stimulate them, and then you harvest the eggs, harvest the sperms, put them in a bowl, and then you have 200,000 fish, fingerlings overnight. So these are some techniques that we need to teach our people. Then teach them how to produce the feed themselves and feed this thing. And if I had the opportunity, I would actually take this technology down to the villages. And you will come to every village and you put people around their chiefs and their fonds, teach them the technology, they multiply the fish and put in all the ponds and the rivers that we have everywhere. So in a short while we'll have fish all over in our ponds, in our streams, and in wherever.
And beat the competition.
Yes, it's about production, produce.
Yeah, I think that one very important thing, in addition to what Dr. just said, one very important thing is in Cameroon precisely is to be able to link up the farmers to those who transform. You see, how can we beat the imports? How can we beat imports? The way we can beat import is that when we want to decide our market price, we can pick a market price and then say, okay, what do we get? What do we have? That can be shared between those transforming and those cultivating, and then we scale cultivation. Just like Doc said, when we scale cultivation and link cultivation to transformation, you will realize that there is no way that a product will be imported that will beat us. But where we have a challenge is that those cultivating don't know those transforming. So those transforming go buy from the market. They are not related. There's no relationship. But if there's a relationship, there's an understanding, there is that link, it will be easy for that link to beat any import that we have in the market.
Ok, bonsoir au panel. Les jeunes d'aujourd'hui n'aiment pas investir dans l'agriculture d'abord par manque d'encadrement des institutions, et ensuite parce qu'ils aiment les métiers à col blanc, comme disait le révérend docteur Frank de Tico. Reverend Doctor. Everybody's calling you Reverend. I don't know why. Doctor. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Interesting program. Please, I need the number of. I need doctor's number. Alfred is writing from Douala. Okay, there's Dr. Nick and Dr. Tata. Brenda writing from Uyuka. Agriculture can be hope for economy of Cameroon if more mechanized tools are used so as to increase the outputs of the farm product, since most of the population still depend on agriculture. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, we want more youth in agriculture. The President of the Republic actually said that was in 2013 in his end of year address to the nation. How easy is it for young people to acquire farmland in Cameroon?
It's very, very easy. For Cameroon has a lot of vast unexploited land.
Okay.
Yes, which I know as somebody who is in agriculture. I am into agriculture. I cultivate plantains and pepper. And from the place I went to look for land, I did not even pay. I was given for free. That tells you that there is a very huge and vast land in Cameroon unexploited. The issue is the fertile lands are not around the peripheries. The fertile lands are in the forest. And most people do not want to go into this forest to start operating the virgin forest. That is why we have good lands. To go and start pulling down trees, cutting down trees, and then opening a very thick, dark forest is what most people do not want. But the truth is, that is where the fertile lands are found. I'm sure that's one of the reasons. Secondly, farm to market roads. Sometimes you can cultivate in a forest to pull it out to the city for sales is another problem. How do you explain that you cultivate 10,000 bunches of plantain, you're unable to transport them from the forest down to the road where they will be transported to the market? So we do not have farm to market roads. That's another hindrance that is discouraging the youths. Because if you look at it critically, for a very long time, Cameroon has been feeding Semak. Much of the beans that leave the north goes to Congo Brazzaville. We feed Congo, we feed Gabon, we feed Equatorial Guinea, we feed Central African Republic. Now, at the level of our production, we are able to still take care of these few countries around us. What if we increase the game, or we step up the game in production? We can feed the whole of West Africa. to tell you that there are most African countries that do not even have good soil to cultivate food. But Cameroon has been given that privilege that if we play to our strength, we can make maximum impact. One of the things I want to warn Africans is this. As much as we are insulting the Europeans for exploiting Africa, they also are working and stepping up their game to boycott from Africa. That's the simple truth. For them to be producing electric cars, it means they don't longer have petrol. And any country which depends on petrol in the nearby future will find it very difficult.
They are producing solar energy.
Yes, they are producing to get out of all the things we abuse them here. They have rechargeable cars these days. Very soon, petrol will depend on. But the only thing that will never allow the whites to cut off from us is food. And that is where our strength is. No matter how developed the whites become, they will never cut out of African products, agricultural products. But when it comes to petrol, they're already doing substitutes for those things. If you look at the Bible in those days, in the days of famine, when Joseph went down to Egypt for 7 years of famine, 7 years of abundance, the entire world was looking up to Egypt. Now, can you imagine the cost of food at that time? All the countries around Egypt that came to buy food from Egypt, is to tell you that once there is hunger, people can have money, but they will always need food. And if we do not play to that strength, which is what God has given to us, Africa has to dominate Europe, because a man that is hungry has no choice. A man that is hungry does not have a decision. A man that is hungry does not have a willpower. It is you that feed him that determines what happens to him. Sankara said, he that feeds you call the shots. So I think we should play to this particular strength, but also we cannot do agriculture from how do I put it, an individualistic point of view. It's supposed to be a collective responsibility of a state. It should be taken as a burden by the nation Cameroon to put all parameters in place to make sure that agriculture is suitable for both the young and the old. If the roads are even graded into the forest, where we can cultivate and be sure that that thing you are cultivating 100 miles into that forest can be transported back to town, there will be that confidence. Number two, one of the things Nigeria has done recently is that whatever they are producing within them, they reduce the imports of those things in their country. Cameroonians used to sell tomatoes to Nigeria. Since Dangote stepped into this cultivation of tomatoes, Cameroonians are complaining how they carry bucket of tomatoes and they were blocked at the border not to carry, because why? They don't want to bring something instead of come and challenge what is existing within them. How will catfish sell in Cameroon? When catfish comes from China, we take 9 months to produce our own catfish. They take 2 months to produce their own, and they are produced at a very wider range. So that large quantity automatically makes the price to drop. And secondly, the short time they use because of the kind of feed they give to them makes the price cheaper. It's the same catfish, but not the same quality. Plantains now in Cameroon, you cannot detect anymore. Plantain is as white as if it's not ready. I cultivate plantain. You see the plantain, and the one that has been chemicalized is 2 different plantains. Our plantains grow and they are reddish in color inside. Theirs is white as piece of paper. It's to tell that chemical used to cultivate a plantain, and sometimes plantain here stays 9 months. Theirs does not reach 9 months. You go now to Penjan Jombe, there they are doing cultivation of pawpaw and pineapple. You see the pineapple, the body is very, very red, as if it is ripe. You cut it inside, it's sour. It's to tell you that the chemicals used makes these pineapples grow faster than expected. He that grows faster and he that grows good quantity can cut down the price. So it makes the man that grows in an organic manner and with the length of time needed to instead be the prey. That's the reason why some people complain that Cameroonian based products are more expensive than imported products. Because why? The imported products that you call tomatoes, they are all chemicals manifested in labs. The way our own tomatoes here are cultivated in the market. So that's where the challenge is. Now government policy now comes in place to give us the right of place as cultivators in this country to take hold of the market. So we cannot do agriculture as individuals, we must do it collectively as a state. Okay. If we want to succeed.
Good evening, Mr. Liu and members of the panel. I think that agriculture has always been the main source of income and survival to many Cameroonians, especially those in the rural areas. Of course, agriculture is a realistic hope for Cameroonian youth and the economy. All we have to do is work on our mindsets, and also the government should improve on this field of work by assisting those who are engaged in the practice by providing them with good roads, machines, chemicals, and many lots. Taco Peter writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please, the serious problem we have here today in farm is farm to market routes. I am coming from the hinterlands where cocoa transportation is done by head, carrying to Sancho and Melon from the southwest, spending 5 days on the way to get to the market. It is a pity. This is Peter, writing from Bonaberry. Good evening to you, Peter. Good evening, Mr. Leonard. I enjoy your program very much. Your participants who very versed with the topic of the day appreciate their knowledgeable contributions to nation building and transforming the way our youths think. Agriculture is the backbone of every economy. Batuo Stanley, writing. Hello, Mr. Leo. This our government is okay. You can imagine a farmer will work for the whole year. When selling the products, is the buyer that is gaining more than the farmer. Asa Nelson, writing from Douala Village. Good evening. Good evening. A good government policy will help boost the market and the price of home products. Noel is writing from Dubai. Hello, my name is Enongene Gil Smith in Bangem. My point of view, agriculture is good for youths, but is not promoted as the prices of crops are not encouraging for farmers to live a good life with just farming. I love the show. Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Clarence from Bomenda. I do fish farming, but here in Cameroon it's not easy because production, as Dr. Nick is saying, is not easy. The feed is expensive. Setting pond, please. I need Dr. number for help. Clarence, okay. Good evening to you, Clarence. Dr. Nick, many persons have a real problem with markets. That is, they imagine themselves working for the whole year, but those who are living far from their produce are those who come and pay very small prices as buying price to go and sell maybe double what you have worked for an entire year.
We need to organize the market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I always play things in my mind. I was telling you what I and Mr. Wayne used to discuss, and you know, I have this thing in my mind because I come from Donga Mantu, and I'm from Tundip, and the Wimbo men, they like working the cash crop coffee, and when the coffee was no longer selling, they let the women do the beans and the corn and so on, and they don't think it's a man's place to go and work in the farms. And so I had this idea: what should I do to get the men to become productive? What do I do to get the men to become productive? Use these muscles to actually produce. And it occurred to me that if we went to a place like Mbok Plain and we acquired a lot of land and we put the machines there and we prepared the land just as I was trying to describe to you, and then you give every male there, let's say a hectare or two of land to manage. You clear the land. You till it for him, you prepare it, give him the seeds. You can even use the machines to plant the seeds, so that all he has to do is to look after the crops and just tend them so that they get to maturity. And then all these crops are harvested at once, and then they are sold to the cooperative. Not that they carry the beans themselves to the market. They are sold to the cooperative. And then in a place like Ndu, you have a cooperative that has the corn, just like the coffee used to be. And then now you have the trucks that carry the corn from Ndu to Douala or to wherever, and then do bulk sales and so on. Then you take that difficulty out of them. So it's important to go ahead and do that food transformation, so that you reduce the post-harvest losses, and you can shift. If you have transformed, when we harvest, we have a lot. The markets are flooded, and then so you have seasons of plenty and seasons of want. So if you have transformed, then you can even out things so that you have fresh stuff spread out. Things are not dumped on the market. So we need to go in there and look at all these difficulties and use our gray matter to solve these problems. It's an issue of gray matter. Gray matter means thinking. We are not thinking. We are just doing things the primitive way and so on. We have to think our way through all these problems and solve them. And that is where the juice is. If we don't do that, we'll be in real problems. So, yes, people are having problems selling, but the government can come in with the engineers and techniques and technologies and so on, put in place transformation, marketing, the entrepreneurship around these things, and see how you move, you move the excess yams that are growing in Binka and in the southwest, you move those to some other areas that don't have this kind of food, and you just do this and you do your market studies and everything goes. It's just that we are not doing things, so things just get dumped into their local markets, and it doesn't really work.
And it does not really work. I'm always very pleased when I watch this very channel, especially when endowed with wisdom and resource persons like the ones today. I'm so pleased with the program. This station is often like a panacea to my worries. Bime Vish writing. Okay, good evening to you. Now, James writing from the United States of America says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, can I get Dr. Nick's number? Thanks, James. Can you just write to me after the program, because there are many messages that are coming in and I may not be able to do that. Mr. KUM, I like Dr. Nick's hope and confidence of a new upcoming national dialogue to end this crisis, but when and how soon is this genuine dialogue be organized? We are really hungry for change and peace in this country. Paddy Brown, the best teller in Bamenda writing. Good evening to you, Paddy Brown. Okay, now you have listened to the worries of most persons. First, we must acknowledge that many persons are ignorant also. They lack knowledge, but should they not also study hard? Because many persons are into farming, they fail to understand that most of the worries that they are expressing could be found on their phone. They just need to go and Google this aspect of what they are doing, and they're going to have a headway. But how do we help them also to better market their produce?
Yes, thank you. At AfroBrains, what we do is that we have a market for farmers. That's basically what we do. Farmers who have whatever crop you have in large quantities, we buy those products from you after you've harvested, and we are able to transform into other forms. And as I indicated earlier, lots of Cameroonians probably don't know that we are situated in Yaounde, and we are actually interested in absorbing these post-harvest loss, because you see, our research actually educated us that there are lots and lots of Cameroonians out there who do food cultivation, and at the end of the day, as you've gotten from your comments there, that these persons don't know what to do with the products, from food, from crops, from the plants to the animals. They get themselves into a situation where you find probably other foreign companies,
buyers who come and exploit
exactly them. Other foreign companies will get into the market and go and meet the farmers and say, what are you going to do with it? So they're going to give the farmers whatever they have, and the farmers will have no choice. But here is what we are coming in to do. We say, this is our product. We are in Cameroon. This is what we eat. The saddest part of it, my brother, is that they will go and transform it and come back to us and sell it at huge prices, and that is the most painful part. So we want to build this chain with our farmers. We want to tell our farmers that, look, the food you buy in the market is what you farm. And one other sad thing is, you see, our farmers, when they cultivate organic foods, these organic foods are bought by some of these multinational companies. When they carry the organic foods and travel abroad with it, they don't transform it and bring to us. They transform it, consume it, and then produce the genetically modified ones and transform that one and bring the final products to us. So the products, the food we're actually eating is not the food we might be thinking that it is the food that we cultivated, but no, it is the genetically modified version of what we cultivated that has been transformed and brought to us. Why? Because they know that there is a lot more value in our own. You see, if you go to shops in the US and in other countries in Europe, you would realize that the value of organic products in the shops are very high. So they wouldn't dare to transform organic products and send back to us. They would cultivate the genetically modified ones and send to us, which is the version. So AfroBrains is trying to talk to farmers, like in this opportunity I have right now. I'm calling out there to farmers in Cameroon. Come to us, let us have a conversation. What are you producing? What quantities are you producing? We have the possibility to scale your production,
Because you see, like I indicated much earlier, when we invest in transformation, most of the products that we produce, we think that is much. It's not much. We can transform several tons, hundreds of tons in 1 week. Do we have that volume of raw materials? No, we don't have. So how can we get it? We can be able to establish this relationship with our farmers. We can support them with seeds. We have organic seeds, not genetically modified seeds. We have organic seeds. We support them with seeds. We equally support them with organic manure. We can manufacture this manure from our natural environment. These things is just about getting access to the knowledge which is available at our fingertips here. So we do that, and then when we transform these products and we sell in the market, we are also calling on our population to consume made in Cameroon, because at the end of the day, if we don't consume some of these products that are made in Cameroon, if we are not motivated, of course, somebody indicated the aspect of packaging. So we have really good packaging which is equally competitive, because sometimes you see, because of the way our products made in Cameroon are packaged, people are not motivated. It doesn't really look appealing to the eyes. It looks like something that you did in some gutter somewhere. So we have, of course, that is a natural tendency. So we have identified that too as one of the challenges that the market is facing. So we also helping, as I indicated earlier, other young entrepreneurs in the food industry who produce one or two things to make sure we can package it neatly so it can be competitive in the national and of course international markets. So our objective is not just to put ourselves out there, but it is to create an industry, to make the food industry in Cameroon to belong to Cameroonians. You see, because our food industry does not belong to us. I have personally seen situations abroad where food is expired abroad, and that food is repackaged with the complicity of Cameroonians and imported into Cameroon for Cameroonians to consume. These are some of the things we should begin to think twice, because buying food from the market is not just about the price, it's also about the quality. And I want Cameroonians to begin to pay close attention to what they eat, because if you look at public health specialists and they come and talk to you here, probably in subsequent situations we may have to talk about the relationship between our agricultural sector and public health in Cameroon. Because if our doctors, our public health specialists don't begin to talk to us, we may not give it that attention, because people are having lots and lots of health challenges, health conditions and stuff. They will not realize where it's coming from until it becomes a general call for concern. So this is an early stage where we are inviting Cameroonians. What is produced in Cameroon is healthier. What we produce at AfroBrains is organic, and a lot of Cameroonians who cultivate and transform with our local factories also produce organic food which is healthier. So it is for us to team up all those who are cultivating, whether it's yams, whether it's potatoes, whether it's corn, whether it's rice. Talk with AfroBrains. Get to our website. Get to us with all the contacts that you have available, and let us be able to work as a team. No one is competing with another. We are working to actually complement each other, so that we can be able to make the food industry in Cameroon to be worth it.
Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, the effort has been to engage young people into agriculture. I raised the issue of lands. You said lands were readily available, though there's many villages that have issues with land, where these Chinese are almost getting all the lands in Cameroon. But above all, do we think that we are talking about incentives here? It was heralded some years ago that a bank was going to be put in place to assist people who would want to engage, venture into agriculture. Such is yet not the case. Is that not also something that the government needs to look into?
That's the reason why today a lot of things in the country have been politicized. We have very good opportunities, but when politics creeps into reality, it turns that thing into a shadow. Well, look, for instance, we had a stock exchange that was supposed to be established here in Douala. Do you know the importance of stock exchange in the country? We don't know if at all we understand the importance of stock exchange in the country. The things we are going about building at Jaboma Stadium cannot be compared to a stock exchange. Olembe Stadium cannot be compared to a stock exchange. We are trying to host CAN. We should host stock exchange than hosting CAN. Because that stock exchange will help us produce more of those stadiums in this country and find more better competitions than what we are pursuing. That's why I said that if at all we do not politicize certain things in this country and we pursue them the way they are supposed to be, it will help us. There is no bank that sponsors. Look, recently, Kimbume Adesina, president of the African Development Bank, said they are putting in $25 billion into agriculture in Africa, because he, as an agronomist who studied University of Ohio and as an agricultural economist, he said agriculture is the main and the bedrock of Africa, and they are going to put in $25 billion into agriculture this time around, because that is the last hope of Africa. If at all nations have banks that can be able to sponsor the agricultural sector effectively, it's going to help us effectively to also advance. There are also very bad things that happen in this country. Children will write very good projects on agriculture, go under the Minister of Agriculture, submit it. Those people who work there will steal those projects, give it to their family members, and the thing dies like that. Money is allocated because one of the most favorable ministries in this country that does not have a lot of strings and limitations, the Minister of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture permits the importation of machines in this country, which most other ministries do not permit. There's a lot of flexibility. You know, when the government does what is good, we appreciate it. There's some level of flexibility under the Ministry of Agriculture in this country. I'm sure in that light, the government has been able to give a lot of opportunities. But now, coming back to empowering the young farmers in the country who have very serious challenge. And this issue where we allow price to be determined by whoever is very bad. One of the things that John J. Rawlings did in Ghana that turned the country around was that when Ghana was facing inflation, he came to power, he sent a price control unit system in the market. If this phone is declared by the state to be 2,000 francs and you sell for 2,500 francs, they close down your shop, thereby giving a balance in the price unit. In the Cameroon here, in the private sector, it is a teacher in a school that determines how he pays his teachers. It's wrong. There's supposed to be a barem of what they are paying teachers in the country by the government standards. Price of products in the market are supposed to be determined by the state in order to keep a balance between the population and the consumer, and the seller and the consumer. Then you go somewhere, they are selling a bottle of top for 200, another place selling for 5,000, which means there is a juxtaposition of everything in the country. If at all we give a standard of operation in the country, we're going to help young people into the agricultural sector to succeed. Where are all the loans? Where are all the incentives? Where are all the subventions that were supposed to be given to farmers in this country to help build the agricultural sector? It's not there. It is not there. And if at all I grew up in those, I realized that it was the farmers union that determined the price of cocoa. A kilogram of cocoa was done by the group of farmers. But today you can leave this farmer here for 100 and 1,100 per kilogram, and you go and buy it for 700 francs a kilogram over there. The whole confusion is everywhere. So I think we should go back to the place of giving incentives to farmers and also controlling the price of products in the country. If not, thing is done with that respect, we're just going to be jumping up and down.
Okay. Let me take some messages before I get to you, Dr. Nick. Mr. Liu, evening please for the number of the doctors and the apostle. Francis Suli writing from Oyuka. Good evening to you, Francis. This one says, good evening to the panelists on board. Mr. KUM, if Dr. Tata can get to the farmers in Wututu to enlighten them on how to provide market for the farm products, especially tomatoes, this will help them a lot. Can you imagine that a basket of tomatoes is sold at times at 600 francs CFA? Yes, because there's no market. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is very instructive and intuitive. As far as agriculture is concerned, we are living in a fool's paradise in Cameroon. This country is endowed with all the wealth God intended to stock his earth with. We are sitting on a gold mine but are blind to see. How do we explain that our youths are abandoning all these rich resources around us and embarking on dreadful and deadly adventures across the desert and to drown themselves in the Mediterranean Sea? We are discussing this next week. Very disturbing stories coming from Libya and other parts. Others dying, others are used as sex slaves, others are kidnapped, and so many disturbing stories coming from north of Africa. And we ask ourselves why we would abandon this paradise to be suffering out there. He says, Patanto Henry in Bonaberry, please can you put me in contact with your doctors and apostle? Okay, you have their numbers. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My name is Bon Cluvet, and I want to shout out to all agriculturists out there. I believe that agriculture can really change the Cameroonian economy and the life of youths, and I think the government should put in more so that the youths can benefit from agriculture and not see it as a waste of effort. Thank you. Hello, good evening. I love your program and I'm learning as well, especially from doctors. I just wish to add that the youth need much encouragement as far as agriculture is concerned, because some see farming as a last option and degrading and waste of time and energy, and thus they prefer self-employed jobs such as mobile money callbox centers. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please, I'm into farming because I know it can be more realistic than searching for jobs. I have struggled to acquire some hectares of land, but after nursing the seeds, I lost about 50% of it in the polythene bags. I really need help. Please, I'm Edwin, writing from Konsamba. Edwin, can you please write to get the numbers of those on this platform? They can help you. Me, I'm a simple journalist. My job is to talk with them. They are the technicians to tell you what you can do to turn your story around. Good evening, Mr. Liu. With the knowledge shared on your platform this evening, I won't mind Cameroon taking huge loans if it can be used to empower the agricultural sector and also support the youth who give convincing projects with funds under strict supervision to develop farms. We need the government also to come up with supportive policies. Please, Mr. Liu, I am into rubber. Any hope? Tiku Felix is writing from Boye, Cameroon. Tiku Felix, I am sure Dr. Tata can tell you whether there is hope or not. Many young people are pessimistic, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. You have a university training these children. What are you telling them? And those who have not had opportunity of attending a prestigious university like yours?
Well, you see, I'm so convinced about agriculture that when I started the Department of Agriculture, we are in our second year now. We started with I think there were 50 students in the first year or something like that, and I intentionally dropped the fee to 200,000 francs just so that they should just come and discover it, you know, some kind of proof of concept or something like that, and because I really want them to succeed. I can understand the negative mind frame in the country, and we all have to try to do the best that we can to help the government to succeed where she has failed. And I would share some experiences with you that are very discouraging. You know, when I was in Bamenda, when we are talking politics, oh, government has put in place PIACI, because there's something called PIACI and this for that. Then I went to that structure when I was in Bamenda to push to get to understand some of the things that were happening, and I've forgotten the numbers now, but the total amount of money that was sent to the PIACI program in the Northwest was this small. And if you look just as the staff that were working there, how much the staff would take away from that little bit at the end of the year, and how much would be left to be given out, it didn't amount to very much. The figures didn't work out. So most of the time it's a lot of hot air. And then I also checked on something at the Fonds National d'Emploi, you know, National Employment Fund. I had some friends there, and they were so kind enough to draw my attention to something because they knew I was training. And this is what they realized. They got me into their office, and then they showed me a pile of applications going from the floor to the ceiling in piles. And these were students who had studied, they had HNDs. We say the children should go and do professional education, fair and good. But when they go to the professional education, it looks like there's a worm in their heads. They all go and they fall in one track. So there was this pile of, you know, that have done banking and finance, banking and finance, banking and finance, banking and finance. And what was the trouble with banking and finance? You see, our Anglophone children study banking and finance. Yet there is something about them. You cannot be studying banking and finance when you don't know how to make money. Are you getting the irony? You are sitting there doing your nails, and that you want to take the Bamileke man's money and bank for him. You see, but you don't know how to get that money, and that is a huge problem. And we have to switch around now and teach our children, number one, to understand problems, number two, to be able to solve problems, and number three, how to create wealth. It's very, very important. If they don't get this, you have to realize that you make money, or you survive, or you grow when you know how to solve problems. You get money by solving problems. It's not by sitting in an office. And so these are some of the things that we need to change in our youth, because they keep doing the wrong things because they lack this kind of education we are giving them. It's very important. And to also say that I have learned a lot in agriculture, not because I went to any classroom. There is this thing, I think one of you was showing it, this thing, this phone like this. This phone, these Android phones, this is the university. You want to go to a university, is right here in your phone. I have learned on a lot. Just go onto the YouTube, how to do whatever. Just put it how to, and you have all these videos coming, and they will show you a step by step how to do it. How do you multiply catfish artificially? How to, and you will learn a lot. Please, instead of using your district to make selfies and so on, and to spend the whole day chatting about that rubbish, sit down, use the few mega whatever that you have, and do one YouTube every day on a subject or something, and you see how well you will grow. And I just want to share this other thing with all of us. You know, when you are keeping animals, for instance, let's say fish and chicken, you know, the cost of feed is very high, and I spent a lot of time and went on YouTube to study about, I'm sure, I don't know about Ambe, but you know, I'm sure Tata knows, it's called the black soldier fly. You know, there's this black soldier fly. It's a lot in Asia, and I think in America and so on, and I think a few of them are in Africa. I think I was talking to someone, he said he has a few of those in Kumba there. How these flies are special flies because their maggots are very big, and they produce a lot of maggots, and you feed the maggots just with kitchen waste and some of the waste and so on. So you can use these black soldier flies. You learn the technique and grow bags and bags of maggots. That is bags and bags of protein, okay, and you use that protein to feed your fish, feed your chickens, you can feed your pigs, feed other things, feed other animals with it, and it's a cheap source of protein that costs you nothing. So it's about knowing what to do, the technologies, and then we'll get it right. I don't know if you know, sometimes when I start talking, I forget about your question. If I didn't answer your question, what did he ask me exactly? You remember? But you know, I'm just so excited that it's true. He asked me a question, but I wanted to tell you about the black soldier flies. And to say that we have many of these government projects that are put in place by civil servants who don't think the process is through. And so they end up failing because of bad faith, bad strategies, and all of these things. But what I can tell you is that the next Cameroon will not be the same.
The next Cameroon will not be the same. Youths have grossly neglected farming. We are saying on this platform that the future is in farming. Is it going to be easy to turn things around to get them interested and fully involved in agriculture?
Yes, like I indicated, we can make it easier for them to get involved because we can build small machines. You see, the machines we have around us, some of the machines we have around us, we can be able to actually customize them, optimize them to do a lot more than what they are doing. There are a lot of these motorcycles that we have around that can be used to do a lot more than what they are doing. You see, the other countries, they started from where we are. We have to develop our own technology. We don't necessarily have to copy and paste. You see, there are lots of machines out there that are not actually designed with Africa in mind, talk less of Cameroon in mind. But we can design our own machines and be able to solve our own problems. The farms we have in Cameroon are not all that identical to the farms we have probably in China or in India or in other countries. There are lots of things that are unique to Cameroon and we can be able to build. There are, of course, general components. As I indicated, AfroBrains has the branch that educates and trains young people on machine building and optimization. You can buy a machine and optimize it for our own context. There are certain machines you can get that is designed for one purpose. You can make it to serve multiple purposes. So these are some of the hands-on skills that as the days go by, we'll be inviting young people to teach them how to be. I'm an automation engineer. Just like Dr. Nick said, I read about agriculture. This is common sense. I grew up in the farms. I grew up farming. I mean, I don't have to go for any white man to teach me how to farm. I don't have to go for any white man to teach me how to do anything. These are things I grew up doing. So, well, I could learn about electronic engineering. I could learn about all those things from other white people's experiences, but the farm is where I grew up. That is what is in my blood. So all I need is this extra knowledge that I've acquired and apply to what I already know. So I'm very confident that, as Dr. Nick indicated, the years coming, Cameroon will never be the same again. As long as the youths begin to realize that the future of this country is going to come from the farms, as long as the youths begin to take advantage of some of these opportunities that we are creating. Look, we can only do as much as create the opportunities. We can only do as much as produce the food. We can only do as much as encourage our market, Cameroonians, to consume made in Cameroon. That is what we can do. Okay. But out there, we believe also that Cameroonians are listening to us. Cameroonians know that they need to consume made in Cameroon, and Cameroonian youths know that they need to get engaged for us to have a better Cameroon.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm from Munde from Boya. I love this program. It helps us at home know more about our communities. Thank you. Good evening, sir. I like your program, but I'm late. A place where is the speaker school located? How long is the course? The school is located in Douala. Dr. Nick's School of Agriculture is in Douala for now. I'm sure in Bamenda too. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Nice and educative program. Please, for Dr. Nick's number, please. I think he can be of help to me. Okay. Kindly send to me the contact of Dr. Tata and that of Apostle Ambe. Warm regards. Keep striving. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Good evening to you all in the studio. Thanks to Doctor. The price control aspect is what we need to drive through, or else making money from farming will always be a problem, especially to those in the grassroots. I'm George, writing from Tico. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Your program is always the best. Please let us really encourage agriculture and let the government try to look into it. I'm Bako, writing from Wotutu, the place where tons and tons of tomatoes are produced. Good evening to all of you guys working out there. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Let the government adjust the agricultural prices, especially cocoa, and it will be a long way to help the youth in Cameroon. Paul is writing from Moyuka. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, where should be the starting point? We want things to change. Dr. Nick says when the government will change, things will change, and but he says things will definitely change. Where should we start? Should we wait till the government changes?
No, I don't believe if the government change, things will change. That is their own way of thinking. Cameroon should begin by creating a value chain system.
Okay.
The value chain system begins with the cultivation, production, processing, and distribution. I'll give an example with the Nollywood industry in Nigeria. The Nollywood industry in Nigeria came up at a time where Bollywood in India and Hollywood in America were the ones on the line making waves. One of the things I realized is that they were very, very smart in their value chain system. The production did not just end at the level of Nigeria. They did serious processing and distribution. And if a country is only at the level of production, we don't process, we don't distribute, it's dangerous. What I've heard us speak most of the times on the platform is the production of raw material and processing them. We have not spoken about the distribution. Is the Cameroonian population able to consume what we are able to produce? Do we have a ready market in Cameroon? Some persons contact me from England and said they want to start producing gravel. that they want to set up a quarry, and I want me to stand as their country manager, and from their production, it's going to be difficult for them to produce, to supply. I mean, the Cameroonian market will be too small to supply what they produce in per day. So they asked me to look for market in Guinea. I got in contact with the Vice President's son and tried talking with him. He said, yes, production in Guinea in the past when construction was going on was very high, the demand was high. But as at now, things have dropped so badly in such a way that he doesn't see a market of that product in Guinea. Now, the people saw the area of distribution was a limitation. They stopped. They did not come. I think we are discussing more about the production and the processing. We have not talked about the distribution. What are the parameters to be put in place to distribute? If Cameroonians are not buying,
the marketing.
Can Gabonese buy? Can Congolese buy? Can we sell in Asia? Can we sell in East Africa?
Can we create that distribution channel?
Yes, of course. It's available. It's already there.
That's what I'm talking about, the value chain system. So how do we do? What are the means of transporting these products out of the country? Because transportation is one of the very fundamentals. Cameroon does not have any shipping line. We don't. The ships that come to this country bring things here. We don't have any ship that carries our product out to go and sell. The ships that come from abroad, they bring their goods here and they come here to collect what they want. We have to collect what we have to go and sell outside, even when nobody is demanding it. What's the transportation means in this country? How do we transport our products out? How many countries are in the world who are in need of our products? Because our minds have been built in such a way that it looks like if pork does not come from China and chicken does not come from China, it's not good. We produce chicken here, but we see chicken from China. What is the mystery behind these people selling all the same thing that we can be selling? We have a challenge with our value chain system. And that must be attended to, whether government changes or government does not change. If the government changes with a bad value chain system, it's going to be the same problem.
Evening to you all in the program. Mr. Leo, give me the website of Afro Brains. I'm a Songani George, a marine engineer in Douala. You may just have to get to Dr. Tata on WhatsApp and communicate with him. Please just get to Dr. Tata on WhatsApp. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is very interesting. Please, for Dr. Nick and Apostle's number, okay? You can get to them through WhatsApp, okay? I'll take a few messages and we wrap for the night. Good evening to all in the studio. My appreciation for good work. Kabila Luis writing from Bali, Nyonga. Good evening, Mr. Leo. We are also failing to educate our farmers that the chemicals used in agriculture have a huge effect on health. Sorry, it's Valentine from Bali on the issue of chemicals, okay? Hello, panel. I think the solution to the roots types of seeds, farm to market routes, and everything concerning farming success to the farmers is simple. Create marketing boards for the various products, okay? Good evening to you all in the studio. What an interesting topic, and specialist cooperatives are made to assist and empower farmers, but the processes to get a cooperative legalized or registered had discouraged so many youth. Andrew writing from Bomenda, Amunga from Douala. A farmers cooperative should be reinstated as before, where unanimous prices would be made for our local farmers, e.g. former Santa Cooperative. Okay. Please, when will the head of state change his mind towards us? I don't know. Hello, good evening, sir. I'm Collins from Bomenda. I like the program, but the government needs to improve on the road construction and some policies as auxiliaries to farmers. Good evening to you all in the panel. The question answers yes and no. Agriculture can be a realistic hope for Cameroonians only if we implement modern ways supporting those who are operating in a small scale to expand their production, hence employment of youth, open up units for processing of harvested products, and many more. Without all this, we will continue to move inside the circle. Hansen is writing from Bonaberry. Good evening, Mr. Leo. What is killing Cameroon agriculture the most, and which has equally discouraged many youths from involving in it, is bad route, or better still farm to market route. Above all, poor Policy on Agricultural Sector, Castro, is writing from Chang. We will have to end at this juncture. Dr. Nick, thank you for coming.
It's really been a pleasure. I think I'm so excited about this topic, and we'll be coming back to it. Agriculture is the way forward, and just like I was saying, I keep seeing in my crystal ball, when the government changes and in the new season, all these things will be dealt with and will be solved, and Cameroon will leap forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. I just got information that my wife has made it to her degree program. Congratulations, my wife, and great success for you.
Doctor, thank you. Congratulations, Madam Pastor.
Extend my congratulations to her, please. Yes, thank you very much, Brother Leo. It's always been a pleasure to, through your platform, invite Cameroonian youths, which is the target. Whatever we do is for the youths of tomorrow and those of today. So it's always been a pleasure to continue to reiterate, especially when it comes to agriculture. We are always available. I continue to use your platform to invite youths to join us. Let us see how we can build the Cameroon of tomorrow.
We want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program. Also, not forgetting you, Eli, Desmond, Bertrand, Noel, and everybody who has worked for the success of today's edition of Prime R. We also want to say thank you, Tabitha and Bryant, supervising the work we do out here. Tomorrow is going to be another day for another edition of Prime R. Stay blessed. Bye.